ORC polls show the race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton tightening in critical battleground states, and President Obama is warning the FBI against innuendo and leaks after the director James Comey's politically charged revelation of a new review of the probe into Hillary Clinton's emails. Let's discuss with our correspondents, our political experts. Jim Sciutto, you've been looking closely into this. What the president had to say about the sitting FBI director, is there a precedent to that kind of discussion?
Well, the president has commented on active investigations before. He got some criticism when he commented, for instance, on the Bo Bergdahl investigation as it was happening. He certainly made public comments before as it relates to the Clinton email investigation. Principally, he'll refer to the fact that Director Comey, in his statement in July, said he's not going to proceed with charges, that no prosecutor would do that. These comments, though, and the White House is now denying that he was making any sort of comment or criticism of the FBI, but let's be honest there. While he had some rhetorical distance, he didn't say Comey did X. He did say that there were norms against innuendo, incomplete information, which is exactly what many have been criticizing Comey for, that quite incomplete letter sent to the Hill on Friday. So it seemed pretty clear that the president was making a comment about this case.
Gloria, the political fallout from this, Trump keeps saying the FBI inquiry will lead to a constitutional crisis if Hillary Clinton is elected president. He's pinning his hopes on this controversy continuing until Election Day. So what is going to be the political fallout?
Well, I think it's a pretty good bet for him to make. I think if you talk to people, as I have, who are doing Republican polling, they do see a tightening of the polls, even in some of those blue states that are part of the blue wall that Hillary Clinton has. And I think the more he talks about this, the more he can energize his base and potentially suppress Hillary Clinton's base. And so, and what it has done is it has unified Republicans on one theme. They finally have something they can all talk about and agree on, and that is that Hillary Clinton shouldn't have had a private server, and that all of this seems a little bit nefarious to them, and that yes, the FBI has re-energized an investigation, call it what you will, and even though we don't know the facts about it, it doesn't matter, because it confirms a negative narrative about Hillary Clinton that works for Republicans. And so why wouldn't Donald Trump keep talking about this? It makes sense.
Rebecca, look at our new poll in Florida, the CNN ORC poll. Likely voters in a key battleground state. Hillary Clinton 49%, Trump 47%. This state is critically important to Trump. If Trump loses Florida, for all practical purposes, it's probably over.
Absolutely. And what is so difficult about this race right now for Donald Trump is that even as the polls are tightening, you could say the same thing about half a dozen states on the map. You could say the same thing about Ohio, about probably Iowa. A number of these toss-up states are must-win states for Trump. Florida in particular, though, because it's this big prize when it comes to electoral votes. And so on the ground right now, we're seeing a frenzied effort to try to get people out to vote early. So far, the early voting there, surprisingly, I think, is kind of neck and neck between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats in other states tend to have an edge when it comes to early voting. So that's a good signal if you're Donald Trump, and I think should be encouraging for Republicans. But they're going to have to deliver on Election Day. And as we all know, Donald Trump doesn't have much of a ground game associated with his campaign. He's leaning on Republican National Committee resources, which there are plenty of those in Florida, but it helps to have the additional resources on the campaign level. What I have learned is that he's actually paying a firm to bring people in to do door knocking for his campaign. They paid $750,000 to this firm during the last month of FEC reporting. That could help in Florida, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket. It's a really big state.
Mia, Trump keeps saying, he says it all the time, he's doing great, his words, doing great with non-white voters. All of a sudden today, a Ku Klux Klan newspaper endorses Donald Trump. A Trump campaign quickly, immediately condemned that endorsement, so they didn't want to have anything to do with it. But all the polls show he's not doing great with non-white voters.
That's right, and he has consistently said that he is doing great and that he he expected, that African Americans would vote for him in larger numbers than they voted for Romney, and Latinos as well. No proof that that's happening. I mean, he's at 1 or 2% among African American voters. I think if you look back to 2012, there were two theories of that election and why Romney lost. One of which was that 6 million white voters stayed home. The other theory was that the Republican Party didn't do enough to expand their voting base in getting African Americans, Latinos, and Asian Americans. It seems like Donald Trump is really running a campaign based on the first theory, that if you swell the white vote enough, you can be competitive in a national election. And so far, it looks like in states like Ohio, that seems to be working. I mean, if you see his crowds, a lot of blue-collar white voters there. In Iowa, that seems to be working. He's running ahead of Mitt Romney. It could actually be that on Election Day, if Donald Trump loses, he could in some ways be the most successful losing GOP candidate if he's able to put those states in play and perform better than Mitt Romney, who got 206 electoral votes.
The question is whether the gender gap will grow so large that it would, equalize the white vote for Donald Trump. We don't know the answer to that
and
yet,
the
right?
older vote, I mean, those folks are voting for Clinton at higher numbers than, of course, college-educated white women.
But David Swerdlick, is the Hillary Clinton campaign going to energize that base out there that got President Obama elected twice to go out and actually vote? Because we see voter turnout, at least so far, in these early ballots, not necessarily as strong as they were 4 years ago.
Right, that's the big question right now. This was always going to be a turnout election. If Hillary Clinton could hold on to President Obama's Electoral College map and hold on to the Obama coalition, she was likely to win this election and will be likely to win this election if she succeeds in that. But as you said, Wolf, in a couple of key states, Florida, North Carolina, right now, among early voters, the percentage of votes already cast by African Americans is slightly down from where we were at the same point in the election in 2012. That is a little worrisome for Democrats right now.
I want to play Jim Shooter. Listen to this. This is the president once again on the Tom Joyner radio program today, trying to get African Americans to go out and vote in big numbers for Hillary Clinton.
If we let this thing slip, and I've got a situation where my last 2 months in office are preparing for a transition to Donald Trump, whose staff people have said that their primary agenda is to have him in the first couple of weeks sit in the Oval Office and reverse every single thing that we've done, right away, I guarantee you they'll start cutting back on funding for things like Pell Grants and support for historically black colleges and universities. Right away, they will roll back the Affordable Care Act. Right away, I guarantee you they'll dig up Michelle's garden. You think I'm joking?
How persuasive is that argument he's making?
Well, listen, I mean, this is a legacy issue for Barack Obama. I mean, beyond the fact that he's a Democrat and he wants Hillary Clinton to win, and he's campaigning aggressively, it's a legacy issue. And particularly when you think the president did so much through executive action that the next president has enormous power either to let those actions continue or not. And the same goes for his foreign policy legacy as well. So it's a fair argument, and clearly it's a real concern.
Take a look at what's going on, Gloria, our new poll in Nevada right now, our brand new poll in Nevada. Trump 49%, Hillary Clinton 43%. And look at this in Arizona, Trump 49%, Hillary Clinton 44%. She's heading out there. She's in Nevada. She's in
Maybe she
Arizona.
should pop by Nevada. She should get Nevada's the place that was a blue state. And Hillary Clinton would like to win that. Obama won it by 6 points. I think what they've got to do is try and get Latino voters out in the state of Nevada. We know they're trying to do that. In early voting, we don't know how many Latinos are out there. It's not broken down by ethnic group at this point. So I think that they've got a job to do in Nevada because they want to keep it. They want to keep it blue. Could they lose it and still win the election? Of course, yes. Their path to 270, as we've said thousands of times, is a lot easier than Donald Trump's. So I think that's an issue for them. On Arizona, Romney won that by 9 points. So that is a red state that Donald Trump would like to keep red. I think that Democrats, when they were looking at this grandiose map and they were saying, all right, we're going to run up the tally here, we could score a win in Arizona. I think right now, after the Comey story, they are much more interested in making sure their blue wall sticks, getting to 270 and above. And when they were thinking more about down ballot and they were thinking about expanding, Arizona was in their scope. I think right now they've got other issues they've got to worry about.
One thing that the Clinton campaign does have, Nia, you can confirm this, a much better ground game.
That's right.
And a lot more money.
Yeah, a lot more money, and they're spending it. She's going to Detroit, Michigan. They're putting ads in that state as well. They want to firm up that blue wall and sort of play with some of the ambitions of an Arizona or a Georgia or even maybe swell the vote in Texas, but they want to secure the blue wall very much.
Stand by. Everybody stay with us. We've got a lot more coming up. Remember, we're just a week away, less than a week away from Election Day in America. We'll have all-day coverage of all the key races. Stay with CNN until the last vote is cast and counted. Just ahead, a possible November surprise from North Korea. Is Kim Jong-un planning another nuclear test to coincide with the U.S. election? Plus, how will the Pentagon deal with the next commander-in-chief? We have details of how the candidates are already at odds with some commanders.
We will also work